All right, we're back here for part two, picking up talking about connectives. So I was talking about the road signs, okay? And I don't know if you've ever driven in a part of the country or the world where the signage is not what you would want it to be. It is extremely frustrating. You're trying to get somewhere, you're trying to go somewhere, and there's no sign there. You have no idea if it's the right way to go, and eventually you don't know where you're going as a result. That's what you do to your audience if you don't give them good connectives, if you don't give them transitions, if you don't give them signposts. So signposts are usually just like first, second, third, simple little indicators that say, hey, the exit's coming up. Hey, here's the exit, right? I don't know if you've ever had that experience where you're driving in construction and they've like moved an exit back or forward, or now there's a detour or something like that. It's so maddening. And it can really be that way for your audience as well. You are the driver, okay? So think of it this way. Have you ever had to, so I've talked about the signs, but have you ever had to follow someone, like driving, where they know where they're going and you have no idea? And they're just like, hey, follow me. Think about the bad behaviors of people who are really bad lead cars, okay? They will not drive the speed limit. They'll go way too fast. They'll weave in and out of traffic where you can't tell where they're going. You're trying to follow along. You're trying to do your best, but they're everywhere. They won't use their signals. They won't use a blinker when it's time to get over. There's someone that I'm close to who's a horrible lead car, and what they will do is they will just pop over into a turn lane, and you just have to drive by them like, hey, and then they can either, when they make the turn after you've turned around, they have to wait for you. It's a whole mess. So you don't want to do that to your audience. You want to be a good lead car. So that's why you use these, okay? These aren't for you. They might help you, but these are for your audience. And so your audience needs to have clear transitions or signposts or all of this, right? I mean, you could put it all together and you could say, so moving into my first point, let's explore the early days of digital home recording. I mean, I write and record music at home, so maybe I would be interested in that, So that was a signpost and a transition all together there, okay? Now, internal summaries and reviews are extremely helpful if you're breaking something down or you're trying to remind your audience or set something up. So for example, if I've got a big point that I'm about to deal with, okay? Like I've got a 2-point speech, and my first point is just it is massively full of information. Okay, then what I need to do is I need to either use an internal summary or review. Now, you've got your big preview. You're always going to have your big preview in the introduction. Okay, these are in the main points, and so I would do something along the lines of this. If it's an internal summary or an internal review, or you can even do an internal preview. Okay, so an internal preview is, so moving into my first point, taking a look at the history of digital recording, we have to begin by looking at two things. First, we have to look at, I don't know anything about the history of digital recording, but that's an internal preview, okay? I can do an internal summary, an internal review, where at the end of my first main point, I can say, so to sum up the first point, we have taken a look at the two big things that happened in digital home recording. We looked at this and we looked at this. Taking these two together, we can now move into, see, and so I did my internal summary, my internal review, and I moved into my next point. And now we can move into present day, right? So I was doing chronological with my transition, my signpost, and my internal summary, okay? So think about these. You don't have to have, by the way, you have to have, let me clarify, you have to have transition signposts between main points. I should know which main point you're in without looking at your notes, okay? I should know because you tell me. So let's begin by looking at the, early days of tap dancing, if you want to talk about tap dancing, right? That was my transition. I go, oh, we're going to talk about the early days of tap dancing. It's that clear. And then when you transition from that first point to that second main point, you've got to have something between it, okay? You have to have a transition signpost, something between it, okay? the internal summaries and reviews, you don't have to use them all the time, okay? Use them strategically. Use them when you're like, I really want to make sure that my audience knows where we're at here. I had a student just this last semester in the spring who did a speech on, okay, it was about gerrymandering, but it was really about congressional district reform. And there's a whole lot there. It's a huge speech topic. And he used internal summaries and reviews to great effect. There's so much going on there, and so he would give us the transition with a little bit of a signpost between, and then after he did the point, he would recap so that when we went to the next thing, we knew what was carrying forward. Okay, so use them strategically. You do not have to have internal summaries and previews on every single point. Okay, but you do have to have a transition or a signpost between every main point. Okay, so be diligent about how you organize your informative speech. I'm still looking for good delivery, but I'm really looking for you to have strong, solid, clear, easy to follow for your audience members organization in your speech. Now, here's the trick, okay? Because I'm about to talk about the notes. It matters how it looks and how well organized it is on your notes, but it also doesn't matter, okay? I have had many instances over the course of my career where it is perfectly organized and clear and easy to follow on the page, but what's happening in the delivery is not, okay? So when you are practicing your speech, make sure that you're incorporating the good transitions and the internal summaries and previews and stuff as you've got them in your notes, okay? Just because it's on the page doesn't mean it's happening, all right? So make sure that you're carrying your audience with you. Be that good lead car. Don't just pop over into the turn lane. Turn on the blinker long before, okay? So that the car behind you can get over behind you, all right? Make sense? So it's very important to do, and it's a really good practice. So now let's talk about the speaking notes. Now, for this week, your book talks about the prep outline and the speaking outline, and these are two really good ways to approach preparing your speech. So I'm going to yell it again. So this is a good way to do it, but here's the thing that I've found. If we're honest, I'll just say it. You're going to do what you're going to do. And I can talk about prep outlines and speaking outlines all day long, but you're going to do your thing, whatever that thing is. It might be working on the outline the day of the speech. It might be, you're opening a template outline in Word. It might be you're going to write it out word for word. It might be you're going to speak text it in an email to yourself, and then you're going to send it. You're going to copy and paste that into Word and just use that to speak off of. It might be that you're going to go out with your friends on Saturday, and you're going to stay out way too late, and you're going to get back home on Sunday, and you're going to be like, oh crap, what do I have here? Oh, this is a used napkin. I'll write my notes on that, right? So I've seen it all. I've seen it all in my career. Everything from people speaking from tablets on laptops, which is fine, by the way. You can speak with notes on your phone, okay? You can speak with paper in your hand. You can speak. There's no wrong way to do your speaking notes, except if it doesn't work, all right? And a lot of my students think that the notes don't matter. It does matter. It matters a lot. You need to have what works for you, and so this needs to be a process of you discovering what works for you, all right? Don't assume, by the way, that because it works once that it works every time. Contexts demand different things. So there are times when I need a more word-for-word set of notes in front of me. There are other times where I don't even need a speaking outline. I can have a word outline where literally all I need is one word to jog my brain. So to break it down, the preparation outline from your book is a really good idea to put together, okay? Me saying all of this, the prep outline is really good to put together. It's all the detail. You put everything in there, all of it, every last bit of it. Write it up in sentence form. Do everything you got to do. It's going to be long. It's going to be beefy, even for a 4 to 6 minute speech. Okay, and it can be in outline form. It might be in paper form. Whatever works for you. And then the speaking outline is supposed to be a sparsed down, like a parsed out version, right? It's more, I say sparsed out. It's not what I say. It's a sparse version of the prep outline. It's been parsed out, okay? So the speaking outline just has the stuff that you need to remember what to say when, all right? So one of the things I will recommend you do with whatever you're doing is you need to make sure you have your source citations in front of you so you don't forget them and you have them there, okay? What you don't want to do is get in the middle of your speech and know there's a source citation and then like not be able to say it or forget it. It hurts your grade if you don't have those source citations. Okay, so that's the difference. The book gives great examples of it. I would love for you to do these two things, but I know you're going to do what you're going to do. And if you're going to put word for word in front of you, that's what you're going to do. That's what you're going to do when this class is over and you're out and you're in your history class having to present on something. You're going to do what you're going to do. So figure out what works for you and do it great. Okay? Figure out, look, if you're the person who's going to write it out word for word, write it out word for word, but learn to speak where you're not reading it word for word. Reading it word for word, hiding behind the page, is not good delivery, and nobody really likes that. Okay? You have to figure out how to engage your audience and have good eye contact and be engaging and personable with whatever you've created in front of you. Okay? So different experts say different things. And so you're going to, there will be some people you talk to who are like, never speak with notes. You know, I dare you to, there are very few TED Talks. I almost said I dare you to find one, but I actually know of one where the guy has a piece of paper in his hand. But 99% of the TED Talks you watch, they are notes free. And the reason why is because those speeches are well vetted, they're well prepared, long in advance, and there are people who work with them, and they know what they're going to say before they walk on stage. Okay, there's a reason why TED Talks are good. It's because of how much preparation goes into them. You don't have that kind of time probably. So you know, do what works for you. But other places will say, oh, you should have notes, or do what works for you for the context that you're in, and make it work. All right. You do have to turn your notes into me so I can see what you're using. Sometimes I can fix someone's speaking issues by making suggestions about change your notes. Sometimes I'll say, hey, you know what? The reason why you got lost is not because you didn't know your speech. It's because you used size 10 font in the body and it's single spaced. Of course you got lost. Okay? So in the last couple minutes, let me give you my recommendations for good speaking notes. Okay? So here they are. I'm not even going to put them on a slide because I don't want you to cheat. I want you to listen, okay? So number one, big font. Use big font. I love making speaking notes in PowerPoint. One slide makes a great speaking note card, okay? So use big font. Number two, don't use the tiny little 4x6 note cards. They're so small. And it's so easy to get lost unless you're using like 1 word per card or something, or 2 words or 3 words per card, because there's so little. I always find it hilarious when students will like give me their cards and it's just got tons of little tiny writing on there, and I'll go, "Did you really read this?" And they'll go, "No." I'm like, right, you can't read it. So big font, type it, and then do handwriting on it. Don't handwrite your notes unless you absolutely have to. That is a last resort. Okay, and then so big font, type it, and the reason why, by the way, you type is because your body's going to go on autopilot with your anxiety, and your body reads type better on autopilot than it does your own handwriting. I know it's weird, but that's how it works. Okay, and then thirdly, experiment and figure out what works for you. Okay, experiment and figure it out. It might look really cool to speak from your cell phone and click stuff around. But in the middle of it, you find yourself, oh crap, my phone did the thing where it locked itself, and so now I have to unlock it, and then I have to swipe and put my code in. Okay, so figure out what works for you. All right. I look forward to engaging you in the boards. I'll see you there.